All right, in today's big story, of course, we start here with Donald Trump, the presumptive Republican Party nominee for president, emerging from the closed-door meetings with Republican leaders and proclaiming party unity.
This is an outstanding group of people. I'm with them 1,000%. They're with me 1,000%. We agree just about on everything, and if there isn't, we work it out.
If there isn't, we work it out. Well, the meeting taking place at GOP campaign headquarters just across the street from the Capitol building. It marks Trump's first D.C. visit with lawmakers since his Stop the Steal rally on the Washington Mall just before the January 6th insurrection. Of course, this also comes just 2 weeks after he became the first former president in U.S. history to be convicted of a felony, and less than 5 months until the election. Of course, it's a rematch there with President Biden. So joining me for on this is our ABC News chief Washington correspondent, Jonathan Karl. So we're so happy to have you here with us. So look, what did we hear in this meeting, right? We thought potentially we might learn a little bit more about his 2025 legislative plan here. Was it that, John, or was it more just a rally of support?
This was really, as one of the participants described to me, something of a pep rally. Trump did talk some policy. I was told his talk was kind of stream of consciousness. He was all over the place. He criticized Biden on foreign policy, on the Middle East, on Ukraine. He didn't really talk as much as you might expect about his legal travails, but there weren't a lot of policy details either. I think the most significant thing here, Kana, is that he was in these meetings. He had a meeting with the Republicans in the House, the Republicans in the Senate. There was no criticism whatsoever from any of them directed towards President Trump. And President Trump, by Trump standards, was quite disciplined. And I think the message from both sides is they want to work together to win.
Wow, this is really fascinating. And you have written in detail, right, about the last time that Mitch McConnell and Donald Trump came face-to-face 3.5 years ago. I know that McConnell told you about this phone call, right, where Trump yelled at him, insisting he had not lost the 2020 election. And then McConnell today calling this meeting really positive. This is quite the about-face, John.
I mean, unbelievable. And don't forget, it wasn't only that. I mean, this was Trump laid into McConnell in December of 2020 for having the temerity to congratulate Joe Biden and Kamala Harris on their victory. How could you say they won? Hung up on him. The two men have not spoken since. But McConnell, in the weeks after that, when the impeachment trial came to the House, McConnell voted not guilty, but he then said that Donald Trump was a man who was trying to overturn the will of the voters, and if he couldn't do that, to torch our institutions on the way out. I mean, this is as harsh a condemnation as you have ever seen from a leader for a party in Congress to a president of the same party. But today it was kumbaya. I mean, McConnell said it was a good meeting. There's a great photograph of them having this very somewhat awkward handshake, but it was like bygones are bygones. This is, again, McConnell accused him of trying to torch America's institutions, and today welcomed him with open arms.
Right. I mean, he couldn't like sit in the back of the room during a larger meeting. He went out and he shook his hand, and there is a photograph of it, and that is eye-popping for a lot of people. But maybe none more, John, than Liz Cheney. Let's talk about that. Right. She just reacted on X, essentially chastising McConnell for changing his tune here. What more are we hearing from her?
Yeah, Liz Cheney clearly not happy to see Donald Trump returned to what she would call the scene of the crime. Again, Trump didn't go to the Capitol building itself, but he was right there on Capitol Hill. He was in the zone that is actually protected by the Capitol Police, the very Capitol Police that were beaten up by Trump supporters who broke into that building on January 6th. So Liz Cheney put out a statement saying, in part, Trump and his collaborators will be defeated, and history will remember the shame. I'm sorry, this is a very important line, so I'm going to say it again. And history will remember the shame of people like Leader McConnell who enabled them. very upset to see Mitch McConnell, somebody who she was quite close with when she was a leader for the Republicans on the House side, and who saw eye to eye, frankly, on condemning Donald Trump's efforts to overturn the election and his behavior on January 6th. To see McConnell do this, it clearly infuriates infuriates Liz Cheney.
It certainly did, and she, no doubt about that, she was very clear in how she feels there. John, I also want to ask you, as we're starting to hear about the legal troubles and how Trump is speaking with these congressional Republicans about them, right? It sounds like they're actually considering some proposals from Donald Trump that could help Trump and his legal troubles. Here's Speaker Mike Johnson actually telling ABC News he supports a bill that would help current or former presidents move state charges against them into federal court, which then, my understanding, John, is potentially that could open the door for Trump to pardon himself. What more do we know about that?
Yeah, this is an effort, and Rachel Bade, our contributor, had a very good reporting on this in the Politico Playbook this morning. This is an effort to say that if a president is charged with crimes in a state or local jurisdiction, that a president has the power to move it to a federal case, to federal courts, which would lead to the possibility of a pardon, because obviously a president has no power to pardon anybody from in a state or local court. It's only federal charges, but this would convert those charges to federal charges. It's a really, I mean, I have no idea if it would survive constitutional muster. I assume there would be huge challenges. Obviously, there's no chance of it becoming law now. This is something that Trump is demanding. You know, I doubt it would pass, even if it passed in the House, if it would pass in the Senate, and certainly Joe Biden's not going to sign that into law. But what's significant here is that Trump demanded it of Speaker of the House Mike Johnson, and Speaker Johnson and the Republicans are taking it seriously.
And they're being really public and vocal about how they feel about it, right? They're not talking about this behind closed doors. This is fascinating. All right, John Karl, our thanks to you as always. We love having you on for our big story. All right, I want to bring our big story, of course, now to our panel. So joining us today is ABC News contributor and op-ed columnist for the Los Angeles Times, LZ Granderson, ABC News contributor and Democratic strategist Christina Sinsoon Ramirez, former Republican Congresswoman from Virginia, Barbara Comstock, and columnist for the New York Magazine, Laura Bassett. We're so happy to have you all here with us. So, LZ, let's start here with you. When you watched all this play out today, what kind of message does this show of unity send to those voters out there who might be on the fence going into this election?
Well, it definitely gives the image of unity. And they were very successful in the presentation of unity. Here's the problem, Dana. The 118th Congress is on track to be the least productive Congress in the history going all the way back to the Great Depression. And one of the big reasons for this is because the Republicans don't have unity. And so, you know, I know there's this visual that was great for like the hour or so that they were together, but we've had years of witnessing this. And so I'm not quite sure if people who are on the fence are going to buy this photo op when they've witnessed what's been happening in real time.
And Barbara, to you, look, this was a pretty remarkable moment between Mitch McConnell and Donald Trump today. Even if Trump's one-time vocal critics, other people we saw as well, right, like Lindsey Graham, Marco Rubio, who's currently being vetted for VP, they are firmly in his camp right now. How do you view this moment for the GOP?
Well, I think the American people don't really care about the problems of a convicted felon. They want someone who's focused on their problems. So Trump was talking about Hannibal Lecter, whining about Taylor Swift, not endorsing him. You know, he wants bills to deal with him. The American people want to hear, what are you doing for me? And this is the guy who whines about himself and has this Congress wrapped around his finger, focused on him, not on the voter.
Well, and Laura, to that note, it is interesting, right, that we didn't actually hear a ton of these 2025 legislative policies here that we thought we might hear about.
Yeah, no, they certainly framed this as a policy meeting. I don't think it was much of that at all. I think it was really mostly an opportunity for Republicans in the House and Senate to come in and kind of kiss the ring. And I think, you know, especially considering a lot of what John said about the previous criticisms they have made of Trump, criticisms Trump have made of them. And we're talking some pretty sharp words have been exchanged. I mean, J.D. Vance called him a moral disaster just a few years ago. And now they're saying we 1,000% support each other. I think everyone's seeing through the fact that this is really just doing what they need to do in order to get a Republican in the White House in November, no matter who the man is.
Right, and coming together now before this debate and before this convention. Christina, let's talk about this reporting here from Rachel Bade. We discussed this with John Karl as well. That Trump asked Speaker Johnson to essentially help him overturn his conviction. What's your take?
I mean, there is no bottom for Donald Trump. And even using Mitch McConnell's own words that he would set on fire every single American institution for his own benefit. And this is just showing that this was not some policy meeting. This was a loyalty rally. And he didn't talk about anything substantive because they don't actually want to talk about the policies that they have set for 2025, which are set to take women's rights back even farther, to undermine the Justice Department and all of its independence. And if you look at their plans for 2025, they are very frightening, and that's what they don't want to talk about.
All right, LZ, Christina, Barbara, and Laura, our thanks to all of you.